This show contains spoilers and adult language. Listener discretion is advised.
Movies with Ron, movies with Ron.
Hell yeah, motherfucker.
Movies with Ron.
Hey, so Mike Kaysen
Yeah, good old Mike.
put something on the Facebook. They made
Oh, shit.
a Big Trouble in Little China board game.
Yeah,
Yeah? You knew about this?
I did. I have...
Did I steal your bit?
Oh, no. I have an accompanying story with that.
Oh, all right.
I actually ran across Mike Kaysen the other day, and he said, hey, I posted this on the Facebook with the, the Big Trouble in Little China game. And I was like, oh, yeah. Yeah. I ordered it. I pre-ordered it. And
Really?
And he goes, oh, you did? Cool. And I was like, yeah, before you posted it. Okay. Now later, I realized I might have been a little rough on him. So I went to him and I was explaining, and here's the deal. I found out about that like almost a year ago, and I decided that I would put my name on the mailing list for when it comes available for pre-order.
Yeah, it was crowdfunded, from what I understand.
I would then order it and surprise you with it. So when he told me that he posted on the Facebook, I knew there was no way to avoid you seeing it. The cat was out of the bag. And I went to Mike and I was like, you know what? Thank you so much for posting stuff on the Facebook. I'm sorry. I was just, my thunder got stolen a little, man, but you are awesome. Thank you. So Mike, I'm sorry, buddy. And again, thank you. But yeah, Big Trouble board game.
So we're going to have one?
Oh, we are, baby.
Man, that's a lot of figurines to paint.
The first time we play it, Mike Kaysen is going to be there.
All right. Be ready, Mike. Welcome to episode 52 of Movies with Ron, the podcast where my older brother surprises me with a movie he saw because I don't go see him anymore, and he explains the whole thing to me from beginning to end. Keep listening and you'll end up liking his versions better. It's okay if you've seen the movie. It's okay if you haven't seen it. The experience is unique, so let's get it on.
Nice. Man, you timed that perfectly.
I'm Chris, your MC for the time being. Our sound and sampler guy Rick is taking some time off, so I'm gonna wing the sound.
All right.
Um,
We're gonna miss Rick, but we'll try our best.
and last but not least,
He's the ball cracker, death on foot. You know him, you love him. He's Ron. Ron.
hey Ron,
Hey, man, what's going on? Hello, planet Earth.
this show has been on planet Earth for a year.
1 year, baby.
1 year anniversary.
Happy birthday.
It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely. I love this.
Hope to do many more.
Let's do it. Hey, I got a tweet from our man in Amsterdam, Dennis Janssen.
All right.
After seeing Pirates 5, first thing my son said was, let's see if Movies with Ron already watched this because we like his version better.
Oh, that's sweet.
I know, I love it. Thank you, Dennis. Thank you, Janssen men.
Yep. Okay, I have a problem with Wonder Woman.
The
Same-
movie or the episode?
The movie. Episode's perfect, pristine.
Oh, yeah.
But what I said before, pitting her up against old farts. Because, she may be a superhero, but a superhero woman, she can't go up against a healthy dude, right?
She could have.
Is that what we're supposed to believe? See what I mean?
Yeah, they did kind of cut her off at the knees with that.
This is supposed to be like a progressive kind of movie.
Agreed.
She should be fighting like,
The Rock.
totally.
Why isn't he in one of these comic book universes?
I know, right?
You know?
Shit.
Dave Bautista, he crushed it. I think what The Rock could do.
Like what they did with Fast and Furious.
Yeah.
Put The Rock and Jason Statham in these DC movies.
Oh, yeah.
There you go,
Oh,
man.
they'll own it. Yeah. Now, about Wonder Woman, I admit you're right about what they did there, but I think,
I mean, I guess the same thing happened in Iron Man.
well,
But Iron Man only fought one old guy. Fucking Jeff Bridges.
I know.
You're weak, Tony.
Did you bring me one of those cheeseburgers? Now, Kyle H. at Super Blondie on Twitter sent us an article from filmschoolrejects.com that's all about superhero movies replacing the 80s fish out of water genre.
I saw that.
Yeah. Post that on the Facebook so people can see it. It is absolutely right.
Dude, yeah.
Absolutely.
Wonder Woman, too.
Yeah, she is Crocodile Dundee.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. They made a point to bring up Crocodile Dundee in that article.
And in that episode, you even compared it to Thor, which is absolutely Crocodile Dundee.
Yeah, totally.
You know? So yeah, thanks for bringing that article to our attention, Kyle. And we hope you all enjoy it.
Yeah. Okay. You know the company Sony?
Yeah, nice guy.
All right, they distribute movies, they produce them, big powerful entity.
Yeah.
They're releasing clean versions of movies.
What do you mean?
Think about all these raunchy comedies.
Yeah.
Two in particular are Will Ferrell's Talladega Nights and Step Brothers.
Yeah.
And they're like, what if all the cursing and all the crudeness is cut out of them?
Huh.
Like, what are you left with?
Right.
But Sony obviously thinks there's some kind of market there, which is weird because
They could be right.
a number of years ago, I saw this documentary about these guys in Utah who, big Mormon community out there, and they were doing it like illegally.
Okay.
But they were renting them out in rental stores that they set up, and specially edited versions to show families, particularly Mormon families,
Okay.
because they got really passionate about it.
Right.
Like, they didn't want these stores to go away, but companies like Sony shut them down.
Yeah, understood.
And Sony's reasoning was, we need to protect our artists.
Yeah.
You know, we can't ruin their vision. This was between 5 and 10 years ago. Now they're doing the same fucking shit.
Yeah, man.
It's like, you're taking our money. That was the real reason.
Yeah. Yeah.
Getting criticized a lot for this going on. Speaking of appropriate content, how do we protect young people and families?
Yeah.
It wasn't until 1984 where we got the PG-13 rating.
Right.
2 films in particular who forced
I used to know this.
the rating to be born.
Yeah.
It was Gremlins
Uh-huh.
and Indiana Jones Temple of Doom.
Yep.
Yeah.
There you go.
It was, and both heavy Steven Spielberg involved movies, because he at that point was like, fuck you, make a rating for them.
Yeah. Fuck you.
And
That was my Steven Spielberg. You like that? Fuck you.
but at the time, those 2 movies did a weird thing. And I think it's being augmented today, especially with when Netflix makes its own movies. Like, you'll see a seemingly innocent thing, but then it has a dark side to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, the show Stranger Things kind of does that.
Sure.
They got those Adam Sandler comedies
Yeah.
that only Netflix makes because those comedies that they have of his would never get released in theaters. Like, they're like super dirty. Don't you think?
Have you watched any of them?
I watched The Do-Over.
So did I.
All right. We watched it as a family.
Oh, shit.
And I picked it.
Uh-huh.
I didn't know what to pick. I was like, I guess Sony's doing the right thing. In The Do-Over, and it starts out pretty good. It's trying to, you could tell it wasn't a vehicle that was designed for them. They kind of found this story, this script.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, let's tinker it, make it an Adam Sandler thing.
Uh-huh.
So it still like takes chances. But one in particular part, when he's like, let's see if we can get you a threesome. He's talking to David Spade.
Yeah.
Because he's reinventing their lives.
Right.
And then it just cuts to David Spade having a threesome with this woman and Luis Guzman.
Oh, yeah, okay.
who was their shot waiter. He was like the shot boy.
Yeah.
He had like shots hanging off his belt. And it just like cuts to them having this threesome.
Yeah.
And they're at each end.
Uh-huh.
And Luis Guzman is looking at David Spade saying, "Don't look at me, man." It's like, that wouldn't be in theaters.
Right.
I don't think. Like, Adam Sandler's theater-going days were like Mr. Deeds and shit.
Yeah.
Even like Happy Gilmore and Billy Madison, which because they were early, they were more crude. I think they were still charming in a way. They would never reach that level. But Netflix is like, fuck you. Let's do this.
Yeah.
All right. I'm getting ahead of myself. Temple of Doom.
Oh, yeah, man. That is my absolute favorite indie movie.
Oh, mine too. Nobody else's.
Fuck that.
Have you heard of that? Have you ever like been around like online communities talking about this movie? Dude, people hate it.
Dude, why?
I don't know. I think it has so much more to offer than any of the others.
Absolutely. It is a shining star
In particular.
the series.
In particular, the first one, I don't really even like.
Me neither. You know, Temple of Doom is actually a prequel to that.
Really?
You didn't know that?
No, man.
Nobody knows that. And it's all in the dates that it shows on the screen at the beginning of the movie.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
All right. There you go. Nobody likes the blonde woman.
And that's bullshit. Kate Capshaw, I grew up like in love with her because of that movie.
Dude, Steven Spielberg was in love with her.
You're damn right he was.
He scooped her up. But the other woman from Pandora's Box, the first one, Raiders of the Lost Ark, that's what it was called. Everyone loves her because she's tough. But I think she's like tough and forgettable, kind of.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I didn't like her in the Superman movies.
Kate Capshaw just had personality. She was annoying, but I don't know. It was a cocktail of events.
It absolutely was. Who could forget this? Pisha pata pachika ping ping pang. Anything goes. Like, what the fuck, man? That was amazing. Willie! Good heavens.
None of the other ones had Short Round?
Short Round.
Dude, totally.
Every boy's hero.
Temple of Doom is like, well, yeah, it's officially part Goonies. I guess that's why it's better than the other two.
Yeah.
A lot of people make a case for The Undiscovered Country.
What?
Indiana Jones, The Undiscovered Country.
Holy shit, that's a Star Trek movie, man. You're talking about The Last Crusade. Thumbs up from Chris.
People make a strong case for The Last Crusade because of Sean Connery.
Absolutely.
But, and I read I wish I could cite this person. They described The Last Crusade as a warm blanket of a movie. Like, you're never in danger. And you always know, God, because in Temple of Doom, like, you really thought Indiana Jones could die. Mm-hmm. Especially with the mind control stuff going on.
Yeah.
Like, it was thrilling. But in The Last Crusade, you always know Sean Connery can die.
Yeah.
Like, nothing's gonna put Indiana Jones in danger. I don't know. I mean, I agree. I think it's a safe movie.
Yeah.
Like, it's a safe little adventure. Temple of Doom was edgy.
Fuck yeah, it was, man.
Fucking monkey brains in a room full of insects.
I know.
Damn. That whole underground sequence.
Yeah.
It's like frightening.
I know.
And then
Oh, Nam Shibai. Oh, Nam Shibai. Oh, Nam Shibai.
And then the big water rush through the tunnel,
Yep.
and then we're outside, and we're going across the bridges, and there's alligators and shit.
Yeah, dude.
It's fuck yeah, Temple of Doom.
Mola Ram sticking his hand into Indy's chest.
Yeah,
Hey, you saw him pull a dude's heart out earlier. That's danger, baby. Like, of everyone who ever almost got it over on Indiana Jones, it's Mola Ram.
Does he die?
He falls down into the gators. The crocodiles, rather.
Dude, they should just bring him back for the next one.
God, I know.
That would be fucking awesome.
Spin off.
You now have 15 seconds to comply.
Yeah, baby.
All right, let me recommend a movie.
You already did. It's called The Do-Over.
I thought you were going to say Temple of Doom. I turned the do-over off.
You already did. It's the Temple of Doom.
Fuck yeah, man.
Hell yeah. Everybody go see that movie.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, dude. I know you saw The Mummy, but whether it was good or bad, they could have taken a thing or two, some advice from those Temple of Doom guys.
Hey, man. They kind of did.
Yeah?
You know, I had two options this week. I had been wanting to see The Mummy. I'm getting excited about this Dark Universe thing, right?
Yeah.
The other choice was this horror film called It Comes at Night.
I want to see that.
Me too. Now, I was looking at the Rotten Tomatoes ratings, and it had a 78. I then looked down at The Mummy, and it had a 17. I was talking to Heather about it. I was like, yeah, look, The Mummy's only got a 17, but look here. And then I scroll back up to It Comes at Night, and in that space alone, it had gone to 89%.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I was like, well, shit. So everybody's main complaint was, it tries to be an action movie and a horror movie and does neither. And I disagree, man. Yeah. It's an adventure movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like saying Brendan Fraser's movie was trying to be an action and a horror.
Uh-huh.
Was it? No, nobody ever said shit about that. It's an adventure flick. Tom Cruise even tells you this in the beginning of the film, as you will see.
All right.
So everybody needs to just calm down.
Yes!
Funny you brought up Indiana Jones. It reminded me of that slightly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's some
slightly, okay?
archaeology, tomb raiding going on.
Yeah. He's no Indiana Jones, okay? But it had the spirit.
Yeah. What do you think Brendan Fraser thinks?
He's probably like, mine was better. Tom Cruise. But then Tom Cruise is like, Brandon who?
All right, folks. Get ready to be wrapped up in an adventure, because it's the first installment of the Dark Universe. Universal's The Mummy on Movies with Ron.
It's showtime.
Yeah, you know what time it is.
Put those guns away.
Hey, Chris. What's wrong, man? Get them people out.
Get the people out. Come on. Get the people out.
Did anything happen in the theater?
It did. Heather bought us a pretzel.
Ooh.
The biggest pretzel I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, yeah?
It was amazing. We had to tear it into little pieces so it wouldn't be so phallic.
I eat hot dogs from the side. Just so you know.
Yeah, you could tell the people next to us were like talking about it.
Nice beaver.
Thank you. I just had it stuffed.
Let me help you with that.
All right, so we, of course, start off with the Universal Pictures logo. And I was like, yeah, bitch. Because I'm excited for this Dark Universe stuff.
Must have been your lifelong ambition.
All right, so we see that, and then the logo doesn't leave.
Oh, yeah?
And we start traveling around it to the dark side of the logo.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
They're
you can,
serious.
Yeah. You can see behind the word Universal. Like, you can see it in the back. And now on the dark side of the planet, it says, Dark Universe.
Sweet.
Yeah, man. And then it fades out, okay? Then we get a little screen text that's like, death is but a doorway, time is but a window, I will be back. Or something like that. Vigo, the Carpathian.
Okay, there you go.
But it's like, it says Egyptian prayer. So we start off in England, and the year is 1127 AD. And we got a whole bunch of crusade knights, Templars and shit. And they are burying one of their own. And in his tomb, on top of his chest, they place a ruby. And then they seal it up. And then we cut to England now.
Now!
That's weird. Was that Tom Cruise?
Yeah.
Okay.
From Magnolia.
Okay.
A high point for him, in my opinion.
Agreed. And we're still in that same room, and then it gets drilled into by a big giant machine. A drilling machine, if you will. Or a drill. Because they are building some new subway system or train system. Now England is now going to be all connected even more.
Okay.
So they bust in there, and then you can see all the same tombs that were in there before, and all the guys are like, "What the hell?" Then on the news, they're like, "Yeah, you know, in all of these, that we found all these catacombs during the construction of that new train system, and you know, I think even parts of it they're so close to the Thames River that you know they're flooded." And the guy's like, yes, that's right. So much historical value here, blah blah. So we see all these construction workers walking around these tombs, you know, screwing them up.
Yeah.
And then a man walks in, and it's Russell Crowe, and he's got a big team with him, and they take over the site. And they're like, oh, yeah, everybody, you know, we're taking over the site. Go ahead, collect all your stuff, and get out of here. And the leader of the construction is like, what the hell are you doing here, you know? We got to go to work. Russell Crowe's just like, we'll take it from here. So he's walking around, he's all fascinated, and then he sees this big insignia on the wall that is, I don't know, like sort of Egyptian looking.
Yeah.
And you can hear him thinking, he's like, the past cannot be buried forever. And now I am about to uncover one of antiquity's darkest secrets. So then he talks about the Princess Amunet, and we get a flashback of ancient Egypt. So Amunet was the Pharaoh's daughter, and she was the only heir to the kingdom, all right?
Yeah.
And you can see the Pharaoh's all proud of her. She's doing all that. She's like fighting people in front of him, you know, for show, just like they did in the old Brendan Fraser movie flashbacks. Kind of a little unnecessary, but, you know, it's cool. Right. She's a fighter. And the Pharaoh's all smiling at her, and then he turns back and he looks at his new wife and smiles at her. And then Amunet is like, bitch. Because it cuts to him having a son with the new lady. So now she's not the heir.
Oh.
And she is pissed. And she remembers that, well, power is not given. It is taken, baby.
Yeah.
So she makes a plan. And her plan is to embrace evil. So she makes a deal with Set, the Egyptian god of death. And you see her, she's like in her room, in her Egypt room, with all the torches and stuff, and a whole bunch of dead hanging crows hanging from the ceiling. All right? She's naked. So she's like on her knees with her butt in the air, and she's doing some ritual, okay? And Set is going to give her the power to become immortal or whatever, and then, as part of the deal, she has to give him a human form. So while she's doing this ritual, all the dead crows just come to life and start squawking and trying to fly away. And then there is a fucking dead corpse somewhere behind her, and it just stands up and starts shambling towards her from the back. She doesn't even see it, okay? And then all of a sudden, it just reaches in front of her and hands her a dagger. And it's a special dagger. It's the dagger of Set, and it has a ruby on the handle. A familiar ruby. It was buried with the knight in the beginning.
Yeah.
So she takes it, and then the corpse like crumbles into dust. And then all these runes appear on her skin. Looks like she's just covered in henna. And then the retinas in each of her eyes separate into two.
Oh.
Yeah. So that's like the mark of the mummy.
Never seen that before.
Have we?
I don't know. Just seems like they did it because it's something no one's done before.
Agreed. So now that she's all vamped out like that, she does what any good mummy would do, and she goes into her dad's room and cuts his throat.
You want to be a farmer? Here's a couple of acres.
And then, it shows it's off screen, but she does kill the baby too.
Oh, fucking bitch.
Now, to fulfill her half of the bargain, she has to give Set a human form. She does this by having sex with some dude. So she's on top of him, and he's like, having the time of his life. It's the princess, man.
Yeah.
And then she raises that dagger up, and she is about to stab it right into his chest. And he's like, gonna take it. And he's okay with it. Then they get interrupted by a whole bunch of the guards and everything, and they are pulled apart, and she is punished for her crimes against the kingdom and also, the gods or whatever, by being mummified alive. She was taken far from Egypt and buried in some secret tomb, and all record of her was erased. So no one has ever heard of her in present day. This is the end of the flashback, and again we hear Russell Crowe go, "The past cannot remain buried forever." And then it goes, "The Mummy! Dun, dun, dun!"
All right.
Yeah, man. So here we go. So now we cut to daylight, and we are in Mesopotamia, in particular, Iraq. And there's two guys on horses looking down at this little village in the middle of the desert. Turns out that it's some little guy who I decided to call Buddy and Tom Cruise. And they are soldiers for the U.S. Army, but they're sort of freelance, okay? And their job is to find lost antiquities, and kind of save them. But it turns out that they're also kind of thieves, all right? Sometimes they just sell the shit on the black market. Tom Cruise is trying to convince the little guy to come with him down in there and go check things out. He looks at this map that he has, and it says Haram Burial Site, investigate. So he knows that there's going to be some kind of treasure down there. And he's like, "Come on, man, let's do this." And the guy's like, "No way, man. You see all those insurgents down there? They're going to kill us." And Tom Cruise is like, "Yeah, okay. Well, stay here if you want." And then he goes and stabs his water bag, and it starts running out into the sand. And the guy's like, "What the fuck, man? The nearest water is like a day's ride that way." He's like, "Nope. The nearest water is right down there, buddy. Come on, man. Where's your sense of adventure?"
There you go.
Yeah. And he was talking to the audience, not the little guy. So then, he bucks his horse up and fucking rides down there like a damn hero. And it just cuts to them in a huge firefight with all these insurgents. He was like, "Come on, man, it'll be fine. Just quick in and out, just like always."
Yeah.
And so now it's just like chaos and hell on earth, all right? And you can hear Buddy going like, "Yeah, in and out, just like always. That's great, man." And they are just like, they're getting rocked and rolled. And they're doing their best, one of them throws a grenade and they have to jump off of the roof and there's a big explosion. So then they end up pinned down, all right? And Buddy gets on his radio and he's like, "Yeah, I need immediate assistance, airstrike assistance, blah, blah, blah." And he gives coordinates and stuff. And Tom Cruise is like, "You did not just call in an airstrike." "Oh, yes, I did." So, they're like crawling around, trying not to get shot.
Yeah.
Tom Cruise is like, "Just hang on, man. Just let me think." And he's just like kind of sitting there, just like thinking. And there's all this chaos and bullets flying and everything. And the guy's like, "Well, all right, what are you thinking? What are you thinking, man?" "I'm thinking we're probably going to die here." And then, boom, the whole thing gets rocked and rolled because the airstrike arrives. It's this huge explosion. So the dust clears, and they look down, and all of the opposition are just running away, driving away. They have given up. All right? So now there's this big, giant crater in the middle of the village. And they're looking at it, and then the building that they're on starts sliding down into it. And, they're going crazy trying to get away from it. His buddy ends up getting sucked down into it. Tom Cruise is like, "Oh, no," and he walks up to investigate. And down in the hole, you see his buddy lived, and he's just like at the edge of the hole. But then there is this huge Egyptian face that was buried under the village and is now uncovered. And then Tom Cruise is like, "Haram." From the little paper that he was looking at.
Okay.
And then the army arrives. And their sergeant or whatever is just like, "You maggots, you're always fucking around, blah, blah, blah." And he's like, "Yeah, no, really, we were just doing some recon. And I'll tell you what, Buddy here, he saved my life, and I would like to apply for a citation for him, And the guy's like, yeah, let me tell you another story. You guys were looking for shit to steal and sell on the black market, right? Because fuck you." And Tom Cruise is like, "Yeah, all right." And then some blonde girl walks up and just slaps Tom Cruise in the face.
"I can't hit you. You're a girl. And I love you."
And the sergeant's like, "Well, okay, who are you?" And it turns out that she is an archaeologist that Tom Cruise slept with a few days prior.
Oh.
And stole the map from her bag.
Okay.
And this is her life's work that she's been working on, and he just took it so that he could go and sell whatever he found.
So they've already slept together.
Yes.
That's a little weird.
I know.
Different.
Yeah.
All right.
She also insinuates that it only lasted 15 seconds.
Ah, all right. I'm liking Tom Cruise more and more.
Yeah, and he's like, yeah, all right, Sergeant, it may be true that we did spend the night together, and it was a long night, okay? And, I did leave the next morning without talking to her, but only because she was sleeping, because she was so exhausted. And she's just like, yeah, sure. Yeah, and my reward for that, well, as you can see, hell hath no fury. Then she looks down in the hole, sees the face, and she's like, it's Egyptian. Oh, my God. Sergeant, you need to secure this village. Sergeant's like, yeah, y'all got like 20 minutes, and then we got to move out because we got insurgents coming in, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, yeah, okay. And Tom Cruise is like, yeah, we're gonna go now. He's like, nah, you're going with her. And then the little buddy is like, all right, well, I'm not going, right? Get in the hole! So all three of them have to go down. So they go spelunking. Down in the cavern, there's a whole bunch of Egyptian statues and stuff. And they find mercury dripping out of the rocks in the ceiling. And it's weird. The girl, whose name is Jenny, says that, yeah, Egyptians believe that mercury weakened evil spirits. And Tom is like, yeah, okay. It also, it also kills you.
Yeah.
And then Buddy's like, yeah, after it makes you crazy. So Jenny is, she's making a recording and she's talking. She's like, I found mercury dripping around and it's draining into little canals and they are running down. Oh my God, what is that? And the canals lead down to this big giant pool in the bottom of the chamber. And it's a big pool of mercury. It's pretty cool looking.
Yeah.
Around the pool are like 6 statues of Anubis, and they're facing the pool instead of facing away, so they're not guarding whatever's in it. They're like guarding it, making sure it doesn't leave.
Okay.
Okay? She's looking around at all the other, because there's other like mummies there, around it. And she's like, yeah, but there's no there's no food or canopic jars or anything, nothing to help them on their way to the afterlife. So it's like, it's like a place of dishonor,
Yeah.
She's looking around. She's like, this isn't a tomb. It's a prison. Now, in the center of the mercury pool are some chains coming from the ceiling and disappearing down into the mercury. So she's talking into a recorder and she's like, yeah, these chains, they're not for keeping people out. They're for keeping something in. Mm-hmm. While she's doing all this, Tom Cruise and Buddy, they just start looting. They're like stuffing their pockets with like necklaces and rings and stuff. Tom gets caught by Jenny. And she's like, you need to radio up to the sergeant and tell him that we need specialists. We need to secure this site. This is amazing. This is a great find. And he's like, yeah, no, seriously, we've only got a few minutes. Bad shit's coming our way. She starts arguing with Buddy about that. And Tom, he's looking at all the chains leading down in the pool. He looks up and sees that they're on spools on the ceiling. And he's like, screw this. He just shoots one of the chains, and then he releases a counterweight, and it lifts the thing out of the center, and it is the mummy's sarcophagus. Oh. And in true mummy movie fashion, as soon as this happens, there's a fucking plague of camel spiders that comes down out of the rocks. And they are huge and scary, and they're going everywhere. Everybody starts freaking out. Buddy is getting bit in the back of the neck with it.
Oh, shit.
And yeah, he's going crazy. So then Tom Cruise is just like, dude, will you just chill out? They're only camel spiders. They're not even poisonous, man. And he's like rubbing his neck, and he's like, yeah, but, So Jenny's like yelling at Tom, and he looks into the face of the sarcophagus, and then he gets a vision. And, he's off in the desert, and he sees Amanette, this hot woman in the desert. Very seductive, and looking at him and stuff, and she's saying stuff like, you have set me free, my chosen. And she walks up to him and kisses him, and then Jenny's like, wake up, man! And he comes to, and, it was just all part of the vision. Uh-huh. So then they're airlifting the sarcophagus out of there. They're at least going to save that because now there's a sandstorm coming and everything. So they pull it out with a chopper. And Tom's looking around and he sees a whole bunch of crows that have like flown in and are sitting there watching the operation. And when they fly away with the sarcophagus, the crows follow it. It's pretty creepy.
Wow.
So they make it to this cargo plane and there is a huge sandstorm coming. And it is just about to hit, all right? So they got to hurry up and get all this stuff on board. They put the sarcophagus in, they strap it down, and then they get into little seats inside the cargo area, and then they take off just in time, man. And it's really tense. We see Buddy in his seat, and he's like rubbing the back of his neck, and he's starting to sweat.
Shit.
Yeah. So the girl Jenny, she's like reaching for her bag up above, and she exposes her little tummy, and Tom Cruise is like staring at it. So she starts talking about, this is an Egyptian tomb in Mesopotamia. This is amazing. So they start arguing with each other about the sex that they had. Because he's like, why did you say 15 seconds? That's really not cool.
What he'd done was sneaky, rotten, and low. And cool.
And she's like, that was my life's work, man, and you were just going to steal it. How much is that worth on the black market? Then we look over, we see Buddy again, and his eyes now roll into the back of his head. And he dies.
Aww.
And we're like, what the fuck? We came a long way from just sweating. All right? He just died in like 5 minutes. So then the girl gets up, and she, nobody sees that. She gets up, she starts translating the inscription on the sarcophagus. As she's reading it, Tom gets a vision, and now it's the same thing of Aminette having sex with the guy and about to stab him with the dagger, only now it's Tom Cruise in his place.
Nice.
Yes!
Yeah. So then he wakes up, he looks over at Jenny, and now she's like on her computer doing stuff. And he looks over at the sarcophagus, and Buddy's standing up, right over by it.
No!
And he's like looking at this, and Buddy's just standing there with his knife, like cutting the strap. He's like, Buddy, what are you doing, man? And then the sergeant gets involved. He walks up, he's like, Buddy, we have that secured for a reason. What are you doing? Buddy does not talk. Buddy is also stark white, all right? So the sergeant walks up, he's like, don't do that. Get the hell away from there. And then Buddy just like looks up. We see that he only has one of his eyes that is not rolled into the back of his head. So he's got like one normal eye and one white eye. And he just stabs the sergeant dead. Doesn't say a word, just kills the fucker. Everybody goes crazy, and then Buddy turns to Tom Cruise and Jenny and some other soldiers, just starts walking towards him with a knife. And he's kind of shambling, because they are in a plane. And Tom's like, hey man, what are you doing? All the other soldiers point their guns at him, because he just killed the sergeant, all right? Tom is like, no, guys, don't shoot him, all right? Something's wrong here. And then Buddy's just walking towards Tom with the knife. Tom has to keep backing up because Buddy does not stop. He ends up pulling out his gun. Stop, man, stop. I'm telling you, stop. And he has to shoot him. Nothing happens. Buddy just keeps walking towards him. All right? He's like, come on, man, I'm telling you, stop. And then Buddy starts walking towards Jenny with the knife. So Tom shoots him again, and he goes down. And he's like all like hyperventilating because he just had to kill his friend. What the hell just happened here? Everybody's panicking and stuff. And then it calms down, and everybody's just like, and then Tom like fires a third time, like kind of on accident.
Yeah.
They're just sitting there, like looking at Buddy, who all of a sudden went psycho and is now dead on the floor of the plane.
All right, don't touch him! Don't touch him!
All right, so then Tom's just looking down at him. He's like, sorry, buddy. Now the plane starts having engine trouble. So Tom goes up to the cockpit, and the pilots are like, yeah, something fucked up's happening, man. Look at this. And then something just hits the window of the plane and leaves a blood streak. Ugh. All right? And then Tom looks out the window ahead, and there's this big dark cloud, and it's all crows. So they hit like the biggest massive bird strike in history.
Nice.
And it takes the plane out, man. Takes out the engines, rips one of the wings off, and now they start diving because they are crashing, okay? And everybody back in the cargo area starts going weightless, and it looks like they're in a fucking space shuttle, okay? Just like floating around. Everybody's scrambling for parachutes and stuff. Tom Cruise, he grabs a parachute, puts it on Jenny, and he's like, come on, come over here. And then a hole in the fuselage opens up, so now it's all going like, whoosh. It's all crazy. Plane starts spinning. They are getting slammed against the top, bottom, left, and right. It is pretty chaotic, all right? They keep showing the plane. It is just nosediving straight to the ground. Tom ends up right next to the hole with Jenny, and they're looking out, and it's just like, oh, yep, the ground's coming up fast, man. So they are going to be fucked.
We're going to be fucked!
All right, so then he just looks at Jenny and then pulls her cord on her parachute. It opens up, and she just gets sucked out. The camera does not cut away. All right, it stays on Tom Cruise, who is just holding on to the netting on the side of the plane, and he is right next to the hole. Camera does not leave him. The ground just keeps getting closer, man.
Wow.
It was actually a pretty harrowing sequence, all right? And that camera stays on Tom Cruise until that fucking plane crashes, man. And he does his Tom Cruise scream, like, Aah!
They did that in one of those Mission Impossible movies.
Oh, yeah?
It was the big plane stunt. Why would they do that again?
Because Tom Cruise is aware that it works. And the action is not the star of this movie. The mythology and the story of the Dark Universe is. Everybody needs to remember that.
Okay.
Anyway, the plane crashes and the screen just goes white, all right? We fade in, and there is Jenny. There's all these doctors around, and they're like, Jenny, we need you to go ahead and identify all of these bodies, because you're the only survivor. Jenny's like, yeah, okay. Then we cut to the room with all the bodies in it. All body bags sitting on slabs. And then Tom's just sits up. And he starts freaking out inside of his bag and tears it off.
Yeah.
Looks down at his foot and pulls off his toe tag. He reads it, and it just says, unknown. Then he looks over, and fucking Buddy is standing up, and he is behind him. And he is all fucked up looking. He looks like a fucking zombie. And he's like, hey, Tom, we need to talk, man. And Tom's like, oh, my God. And he starts backing away from him, and he's like, am I dead? And Buddy's like, no, man, you're not dead, but you are going to wish you were.
Oh, God.
Yeah, man. It immediately reminded me of An American Werewolf in London.
I was going to say that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It was a clear reference to it.
Yeah.
So then we cut to the crash site. And now it's nighttime, and everything's kind of still burning, and there's crash site investigators on the scene.
Mm-hmm.
The camera's moving around, and we see the top of the sarcophagus, all right? So obviously it's open somewhere. So the camera's looking around, then we see the bottom portion. There's a close-up to it. We look inside. It's empty, baby.
Look, the bitch don't live here. Fuck you too.
Right. Now we see some mummy wrappings, and they're strewn away from the sarcophagus, like she had toilet paper stuck to her foot. And then one of the agents actually finds her body, and it is just a mangled up, dried out mummy, okay?
Yeah.
And it's all shrunken and gross, like real mummies look in the museum, you know?
It was just strewn from the plane?
Yeah, it was just thrown out of the sarcophagus.
Wow.
So then he's looking down at it, and then it comes alive and attacks him. And he's like, rah! Cuts away to his buddy, who hears him scream, and decides to go and investigate. Comes over and finds his friend laying on the ground, rolls him over, and this fucker looks like his face has just been sucked out.
Yeah.
And he's all gross and slimy looking, and he's like, man, oh my God. Then he turns around, there's the mummy, gets him too. But now we see how it does it. It just sucks their life force right out of their mouth. It looks like they're kissing.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. So now that she's sucked two guys, she's a little stronger now, and she starts shambling around. She's still all gross and thin, and she's kind of walking on all fours, hobbling around like Gollum, all right?
Uh-huh.
And then she just says, it's all in Egyptian, it's just subtitled, but she's like, rise. And then those two dead agents just get up. But it's cool because they don't look like mummies. They are fucking zombies.
Yeah.
So now she's got two zombie helpers. And it cuts to Tom Cruise, and he's in a bar, slamming beers and taking shots. And he's right across from Jenny because, he can't believe what he just went through. And then he hears Buddy in his head go, Tom. And he, looks over and sees him, across the bar. And he, kind of shakes his head, and then he's gone. So he's like, man, what the hell's going on? So then Jenny starts telling her theory about Amanette. And she's like, yeah, there was always this stories about this princess that she was erased from history. And we thought that we had a lead on what it was. And now, we think that's who's in this sarcophagus. It's fucking crazy, man. So she tells Tom about the dagger of Set that can give him physical form. She's talking about that huge bird strike they ran into and the sandstorm. And she's like, man, I think we released some kind of mummy's curse for real, man. And Tom is like, yeah, okay. Then Buddy across the bar actually gets Tom's attention again. And he motions to the men's room. He's like, come on, man. Tom just gets up and goes. Walks into the men's room and he's like, in there talking to Buddy, who is obviously a zombie, okay?
Yeah. Is anyone wondering why Tom Cruise is there, not dead?
I think Jenny kind of talked about that when she was like, curse, maybe, I mean, how did you survive? Type shit.
Huh.
It's kind of blazed past.
Okay.
While Tom's in the men's room, Jenny walks over and makes a phone call. And she's like, yeah, use Jenny code 771, and I need to talk to Henry. And then Russell Crowe picks up the other line. And she's like, I think this situation is a little more out of control than we thought. And he's like, just get your soldier here. Now back in the bathroom, just like American Werewolf in London, Tom Cruise is having a conversation with Buddy, and it's funny. Okay? Buddy's like, dude, you shot me 3 times. Yeah, sorry, man. What the hell is going on here? Yeah, I did shoot you twice. And Tom Cruise is like, yeah, sorry, man. I know the 3rd time was kind of unnecessary. But what the hell? How are you alive? What's going on? He's like, I'm not alive, man. I'm cursed. And so are you.
Yeah.
Tom starts freaking out, and then some women try to come into the door. And Tom's like, no. And he pushes them out the door and then shuts it. And then Buddy's just like, yeah, you walked into the ladies' room, man. Right? And Tom's like, what do you mean I'm cursed? He's like, she's got plans for you, dude. You heard her calling you chosen, right? You can't run from her, man. You cannot escape. So Tom decides to run from his troubles, and he runs out the back door of the bar into the alley. And he's just out there, and he sees a couple of rats walking around, and he's like, ew, gross. And then the fucking mummy hobbles out from behind the dumpster, like Gollum, and is like, coming down the alley to get him. And he's like, oh, shit. And then there is a plague of rats that just comes at him and overtakes him.
Oh, shit.
And he's like trying to throw him off and get away, and they bring him down. And he's on the ground being covered by a flood of rats. And it's weird because there is a moment where you can see that panic just took over and he just stopped moving. Kind of like being scared to death or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was freaking out and then he just stopped and accepted it. So he's covered in these rats and then he just screams and then wakes up in headlights. And he is standing in the middle of the road with Jenny, and there's a truck that's about to hit him. So he's lost some time having this vision.
Uh-huh.
She's like, wake up, man, what the hell? I'm going to get hit by a truck. And then he tells Jenny, I'm cursed, man. I'm cursed. I got the mummy's curse. And she's like, no, dude, chill out. And he's like, well, you're the one who's talking about the curse. I'm telling you, I'm cursed. She's like, no, look, you had a lot of toxic exposure. And he's like, why are you fighting me on this? You just said you believe in curses. You know what? Why don't we prove it? Okay. Maybe you're right. Let's go find the sarcophagus. And when I look in there and see a shriveled up, dried mummy, I'll feel better. Okay. And she's like, yeah, all right. But you know what? Why don't I take you to this specialist that I know in London? He's like, no, we're going to find the mummy. So we cut out to the crash scene again. And Amanette, she's still out there, but she keeps killing every investigator that comes to the site. So she's like, gaining more strength.
That's incredible! It's gonna be some kind of a record!
Yeah. Now Tom Cruise and Jenny show up, and they're near the crash site. Like, they can see it in the distance, but now they're, like, near this cathedral, okay? And Jenny's like, this is not the crash site, dude. We're in the wrong place. He's like, no, we're not. We're in the right place. She's like, what the hell are you talking about? And Tom looks over and sees the cathedral door open, and there is the mummy lady. But now she is kind of fleshed out. She doesn't look like a corpse anymore.
She's like Uncle Frank from Hellraiser.
Yeah. And he like walks into the cathedral, and you can see the mummy like scurrying around up the walls behind him, and he keeps like looking back. Yeah. Is he? Where is it? And then all of a sudden it just fucking grabs him. And he is now in the arms of 4 of the zombie helpers. They take him and slam him down onto the altar in the cathedral. And they're holding him down. And he's looking at them, and they are disgusting. And he's like freaking out, and then the mummy just slams down on top of him. And he's like looking at it, and it's all scary. And it starts like inspecting him, like his body, like rubbing its hands up his chest, like into his shirt, and then down on his stomach. And Tom Cruise starts laughing because it tickles him. It's the weirdest addition to that scene. And then the mummy just rises up, and there's a statue next to the altar. The mummy slams it and crashes it open, and inside is the fucking dagger. The dagger of Set. Mummy knew where it was. That's why the mummy brought the plane down where they were.
Okay.
So she's like, Set, join me at last, and then slams the dagger down and stops just before it stabs into him, because the mummy now notices there's no ruby on the handle. Right then, from across the room, you hear, and then all of the corpses that are holding him down, Tom Cruise himself, and the mummy all just look over. It's like a really comical scene, and it's just Jenny standing there, like shocked and scared to death. And then Tom Cruise just goes, Jenny! Like she interrupted, and she's just looking at him going like, what, man? And he goes, run! And then they run. Tom Cruise ends up escaping from the clutches of the zombies, and they get outside. Tom Cruise is running. Jenny looks over and sees him running not with her. And she's like, where the hell is he going? And just like turns to follow him, because instead of like helping Jenny, he just ran for a vehicle. And was going to leave her. He gets in it, starts it up, starts driving. She has to run next to it. It's like, let me in. And then he stops. Okay, lets her in. And he drives off. She's like, dude, you were going to leave me? And he's like, did you see that shit? And he's like, dude, what the hell was that? Why were we there? She's like, that statue that she smashed, that was a reliquary, okay? Crusader Knights used to hide relics inside of them. It's like she brought you there on purpose. That's why she brought the plane down where she did. She's the one who did it. And he's like, yeah, no, what the hell? She's like, yeah, and then you led us there because you wanted to go find the mummy, but we didn't go to the crash site. We went to the cathedral. So she's like in your head, man.
Uh-huh.
And he's like, nah, man, no, she's not. And then they look in front of him, and there's the mummy. And he's like, oh, holy shit, I just drove us right back to her. Okay, okay, she's in my head. And then he just reverses the van and drives away again.
Hi, I'm looking for Ray Finkel. And a clean pair of shorts.
So they're driving, and they get attacked by zombies on the road. Jumping on the van, smashing in the windows, and one of them makes it through the windshield. Jenny just starts kicking it in the face, but is also kicking Tom Cruise, like in his face, and he just keeps yelling, that's my face! That's my face! Then he loses control of the van, and it rolls down a mountainside. It's like rolling down this foresty hill. He gets thrown out of it, right? He's like sliding down the hill behind the van, which is now rocking its way down there. It stops. He gets down, looks in, and sees that Jenny is still alive. Cutting her out of her seatbelt or something like that, when she looks behind him and sees the mummy walking up. Tom Cruise looks back, sees her coming, and then he, you know what? He stands up. He has had enough of this shit. So he walks over, picks up a club, all right, that he pulls off of a branch, and just starts fucking walking towards her, all right? And then Jenny in the van is just like, yeah! Get her, Tom! Kick her ass, Tom! And then he's like, yeah, all right. And then he takes that club and he just walks up to her.
Respect the cock.
Yeah, baby. He swings it at her. She just punches him in the face and he flies 50 feet backwards and hits the van.
Oh, shit.
No!
And he's like kind of knocked out. And then the mummy girl comes and gets into the van. It's like up in Jenny's face, like, bitch. And I guess she's about to suck her face out or something like that, when all of a sudden, this little arrow tip appears right out of the mummy's chest. She looks down at it, is like, what the fuck? And then gets dragged backwards by the cable that's attached to the arrow. She stands up. There is a whole team of mercenaries around her now, and they are all shooting her with those wire arrows. So they're like taking her down. And it's weird, man. And then one of them shoots like a tranquilizer dart into her. She pulls it out, looks at it, and then fucking passes out. The mummy. Okay? So this team just like, this crack team showed up.
SEAL Team 6.
Yeah, took down the mummy. And Tom stands up and he's like, holy shit. Walks up to the big badass obvious leader and he's like, who the hell are you guys? And then the guy just shoots him with a tranq dart. So he goes down. Then it cuts to Tom, who's now awake, and he's being dragged through this secret building. All right, they're taking him to the headquarters. As he is being dragged through this place, he sees all kinds of jars full of specimens, okay? And we get our first taste of the dark universe. He sees this big tank, there's like a giant squid, right? And he's like looking at it like, what the hell? Then he walks by another jar, and it has these weird hands in it. And they look reptilian, and they are webbed fingers with like big long claws, you know? Yeah. Like a creature from the Black Lagoon.
Yeah.
And then, in case there was no doubt, he looks over, and there is a fucking vampire skull in this other jar. And he's like, the fuck? But they just like pull him through this room, and we continue. He gets taken into this nice office that has other specimens there, but there's like a desk, and there's also a gurney, you know, with like restraints on it. And then he hears Russell Crowe say, make yourself comfortable. So he turns around and he meets Russell Crowe, who is Dr. Henry Jekyll.
All right.
Dr. Jekyll talks about how he's like, he's a scientist, he's a lawyer, he's all kinds of things. And, you know, he's in charge around here. And we do some special things. All the while he's talking, he's like picking up these weird little ampules full of this medicine. Okay. He's like looking around, and then he finds his little injection gun and he's like, oh, whew, finally. And then he pulls up his sleeve and we can see that his left hand is covered in a glove and it's like starting to mutate a little bit. And he's, then he jams the gun down into his wrist and the medicine goes in and he's like, oh, that's better. Okay. And then he just keeps talking to Tom.
You know, someone was a fan of Penny Dreadful and they were like, we need to do it right.
Yeah.
You know?
So far, I was pretty impressed.
I'm glad this kind of story is being done again, because I loved that show.
Yeah, me too. And this is the real meat that I was looking for in this movie. I don't give a shit about the action. I don't give a shit about how cool does the mummy look, you know?
Uh-huh.
This is what I came for. So Dr. Jekyll is talking about like his past, and he's like, yeah, you know, there was a physician who had a theory that evil is a pathogen, you know, and if evil is a pathogen, then he was going to find a cure. And so obviously that was him, and during the course of him trying to find a cure for evil, he turned himself into Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Yeah.
And now he has to keep taking this medicine.
The good medicine?
Yeah. And he's like, Tom, I want to show you something. And he brings him into this this big room where in the center they have the mummy lady chained down. And he's like, welcome to Prodigium. And Prodigium is this secret organization that knows that monsters are real and is trying to cleanse the world of them. Mm. So technically they're good guys. So the mummy is not only in chains, but she's also got tubing and needles stuck into her. And they're pumping this shit into her. Tom's like, what are you doing? Oh, we're embalming her with mercury. And once we fill her up with it, then we can freeze her and it will solidify. And then we can dissect her. And Tom looks down at the mummy and she is looking up at him like, man, get me out of here. And you can tell that he like wants to, you know.
Yeah.
He's under her spell, but he also might like her a little. You know, he definitely seems conflicted because she's got very innocent, pleading eyes looking at him. I know I was going to fuck you over, man, but, like, look at these assholes. Look at what they're doing to me.
Yeah. She's not bad. She's just complicated.
Oh, yeah. At that point, Jenny interrupts, and she's like, wait. the mummy, she was a witness to so much history. I thought you were going to study her. And Dr. Jekyll goes, yes, by dissection. And now Jenny's like, man, what the fuck? That ain't what you said we were going to do. So then the mummy starts talking to Tom Cruise in Egyptian, and she's like, your curse will never be broken, man, especially if they kill me. You're going to be screwed forever. And he starts talking back in Egyptian. And she's like, my chosen was murdered, and now you are my new chosen. And he's like, you murdered your father, and his wife. And she just goes, those were different times. I thought that was the best response.
This seems pretty fun.
It was, man. I had a good time in this movie.
Yeah.
Even Heather liked it. She said it wasn't the greatest thing ever, but she called it a very enjoyable watch. I recommend everybody at least watch this movie. So the mummy's talking to him. She's like, you will become Set, okay? You'll become a living god. You will have power over life and death. And I will be your queen, all right? These guys, they're just going to kill you just like my other chosen, all right? And Tom's just like looking at her. And then she looks up at him and goes, it burns. And he's like, what? And she goes, it burns! Because now all the mercury is like flowing in.
Yeah.
And Tom starts freaking out. And he looks at Dr. Jekyll and he's like, stop it! Stop it! Like he starts defending the mummy. And Dr. Jekyll just goes, fascinating. So then it just cuts to later, and there's Tom and Jenny, and they're just sitting there talking. And she's like, yeah, I was working for Prodigium, and this was my life's work. We were supposed to find the mummy and then study her. And if we could find her and revive her, we were going to talk with her and learn about the past. And he's like, yeah, whatever. And then she's like, you know what? I can still tell that inside of you, there's a good man. And he's like, what do you mean? How can you tell that? And she says, in the plane, you gave me the only parachute, You were going to sacrifice yourself for me. And Tom Cruise just looks into her eyes and he says, I thought there was another one.
Right? Wrong.
So then she looks at him and she's like, what the fuck? And then Dr. Jekyll's like, hey, Tom, how about a drink? So now we cut to that catacombs from the very beginning of the film with all the Templar tombs in it.
Yeah.
And the Prodigium scientists are scanning the area, scanning it with heat sensors and stuff. And then they find something and they crack through the floor. They find that grave. And on top of them is the ruby. The mummy can sense that. She's still on her knees being pumped full of mercury.
Yeah.
But she focuses her eyes and she's like, oh shit, they found it. All right. So then she starts concentrating and she conjures one spider that comes up out of the crack in the floor and starts walking away from her. Jenny walks up to the mummy and she starts talking to her. The mummy starts talking back in English. And Jenny's all, surprised and bewildered. And the mummy's like, your language is simple, like a child's.
Uh-huh.
And Jenny's like, you've got so much history. I just really wanted to know about, everything and all of the old gods, And the mummy just goes, no, the old gods? Yeah, whatever. You want to know what happens after you die. That is what you want to know. You want to know what I have seen. And Jenny's just like, okay, yeah, I do. And the mummy goes, you will when I kill you. So it cuts back to Jekyll's office, and Tom is looking at all of the weird skulls and stuff in his collection. And Jekyll just says, welcome to a new world of gods and monsters. And he tells Tom all about Prodigium. And he's like, yeah, I'm pretty sure we can cure you of your curse. He's like, cure me? Yeah, all right. And he's like, yeah, well, we could cure you, but it's a little more complex than you might think. All right. Salvation, sometimes for the greater good, it requires sacrifices, okay? And Tom's like, yeah, I don't really get it. Jenny walks in and she's like, so are you going to kill Tom? And Jekyll's like, Well, I mean, really, Tom killed himself when he shot that chain that let the mummy out. You know, he's the one who got cursed. So, you know, it's really not my responsibility. You know, I'm just gonna use him, okay? See, what happens is, now that we've found that ruby, we can put that in the dagger, and we can stab Tom with it, and then Set will come into Tom's body in a physical form, and then we can kill Set. So we can save everyone just by doing that. And Tom just goes, "That's your plan?" And he's like, "Well, you know, yeah, pretty much." And Tom still can't believe he's just like, That's your plan, man?"
No!
At this point, Jekyll starts to load up his injection gun again, because he can feel something happening, right? Now we cut back to the mummy controlling that little spider that was walking across the floor, and it walks up and crawls up the leg of one of the guys that's in the control room for, like, the mummy room, okay? Monitoring her temperature and the flow of mercury and everything, and it bites him in the back of the neck. And he's like, "Ow!" And he starts rubbing the back of his neck and sweating. All right? Cuts back to Tom and Jekyll, and Tom reaches over and grabs his injection. Takes it out of his hand, like, no. You're not going to kill me, all right? Yeah, I can see that you need this shit, so fuck you. And then Jekyll starts to vamp out a little bit, and he's like, "Oh my God." And he's like, his voice is getting all deep. Okay? There's some other guards in there with them, and they see what's about to happen, and one of them looks at Jenny, and he's like, "Come on, we got to get the fuck out of here. We got to get out of this room now." And then Jekyll is still, like, kind of struggling with what's going on, and he looks at Tom, and he's like, Tom. And Tom's like, gets up close to him, he's like, "What?" And he just goes, "Run." And then he slams his hand down on a button on his desk, and then all these alarms start going off, and then all of these bars and steel doors start slamming down.
All right.
Okay, so Tom just like, "Oh, shit, all right," and he just starts running. He does not make it to the door before it locks. So he's stuck in there with him. On the other side of the door, Jenny looks at that guard, and she's like, "We got to open it up and let him out." The guard's like, "No fucking way. You do not want to do that."
Is this scary?
It's exciting.
Oh, okay.
Cutting back to the control room, the guy that the spider bit turns off the mercury flow, because now he's being controlled by the mummy. So back in the office, Tom now has to fight Mr. Hyde, who still looks just like Russell Crowe, okay? He's just like, maybe a little darker skinned, and, you know, it's definitely, his eyes might be shining a little bit, but he, like, changes up his accent, okay? And now his name is Ed Hyde, all right? And he's like, "Come on, you bastard." And he's like, he's really super strong, and he's jumping around trying to fight Tom, but and this is the shocking part of it, because I was expecting Mr. Hyde to become a gigantic, hulking cartoon in this room, and he did not. All right?
Okay.
He just turned into, like, fucking psychotic, strong asshole. All right?
Yeah. Sound the alarm. A strong asshole is in the building.
But he's like,
it's not like League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Right.
That was Hyde, right? The guy who did that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
But he is, like, unstoppable. So he just, like, keeps coming at Tom, but he keeps talking to him. And he's like, "Hey, come on, man. You know, you can be Set. You're going to be a living god." And he's like, still trying to kill him while he's talking to him. He's like, "But we could be partners, you and I. You and Eddie Hyde. Come on, think about it." And then Tom will, like, hit him in the face with something. And, like, he bleeds, okay? Like, his head, like, is thrown to the side, and all of this blood splashes on the window next to him. And he just, like, starts laughing and keeps coming at him. So then he grabs Tom, and he actually stabs his fingers into his body a little bit. Just like in the fucking Temple of Doom.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like he's like going to start ripping his guts out. Tom grabs something off of the desk and just bonks him right in the fucking head with it. And he, like, staggers back. Like, "Oh, okay." Like, he's, like, just a little bit punch drunk from it when Tom grabs the injection and stabs him in the chest with it. And then he, like, starts coming back to normal. Okay. And now he's regular Russell Crowe again. And he just looks at Tom and he goes, "Well done, Mr. Morton. Well done." Then we cut to the mummy, and with the flow of mercury turned off, now she just starts throwing up what was left in her. So she's like throwing up all this silver liquid onto the floor. It's pretty cool looking. So now the doors are open again, and Tom runs out, and he finds Jenny, who then looks at him and says, "Hey, check it out. I figured it out, okay? All we have to do is destroy that stone that they found. We'll destroy the ruby, and then they can't do the ritual, and they can't kill you with it. You won't become set. It's fine. I mean, you'll be like cursed forever, but really. And at this point, you, the audience, are also wondering, what's so bad about that? They keep saying he's cursed, but you don't quite understand the scope of what that means.
Yeah, because he's still like beautiful.
Yeah, still walking around, Tom Cruise. So they're leaving, and as they are, Tom looks over and sees the mummy, and she's like looking at him. She's still in chains, and she's like giving these like eyes to him, like, "Join me, save me, man." And you can tell that he kind of wants to, but then him and Jenny just like run out. The mummy then starts giving some Egyptian incantation, and she's like, "Bring the sands of Egypt to me. Bring me my chosen." And this is the sequence where Tom and Jenny are running through London, running from the sandstorm. Okay?
Uh-huh.
In every Tom Cruise movie, he has to be running away from something really fast, something that's impending right behind him.
Yeah.
This is that scene. So they're just outrunning this cloud of sand, and they're like running through buildings, and it's following them.
Yeah.
All right, but it's like overtaking the whole city. It's not just following them through doorways. It's flooding through everything that they pass.
Yeah.
So they're running away from it, and then we see the mummy. She's free, and she's like walking down the streets. And, she's got skin and everything. She's really white. She's got the writing on her face, and she just looks like a goth. She's walking all calm in the sand, and she's controlling it. And Tom and Jenny, they're trying to outrun it. They're going through alleyways and stuff. And at one point, you do see a big, giant face in the sandstorm. Can't have a mummy movie without it. So Tom and Jenny really have no idea what to do. And then all of a sudden, he runs into Buddy, who's like, "Hey, Tom, let's go. Let's go this way." So they run.
Is he a hallucination?
He's like a ghost.
Okay.
He's like helping him, sort of.
Can Jenny see him?
That is unclear.
Okay.
He looks at him. He's like, "Hey, I found out where the stone is. Come on, man, let's go." So they run. And then back in the Templar's chamber, all the Prodigium soldiers are like, "Hey, we think the mummy has escaped and is coming here, so batten down the hatches and get ready." Okay, so they're locking doors and stuff and guarding. And the mummy is down in these train tunnels, because that's what they were building when they found the catacombs. And she just says out loud, "My warriors, arise and help me." And then every Templar knight that is buried in those catacombs fucking wakes up and rises from the dead. Now they're all zombies, and they just start killing all the soldiers and everything. And it's they're all pretty cool looking. What they really reminded me was the zombies from like those old Argento movies and Fulci ones. Like in those old movies, it would be like a man in clothing with a skull mask on, and it looked kind of like that, but it's better done. And something about those old zombies in those movies was always a little scarier to me than
like European
Return of the Living Dead. Yeah. Like, what are you going to do about some asshole coming at you whose face is just, it actually is just a skull?
Yeah.
It's not like a blue face with pus dripping out or anything like that, who's just like, saying brains. It's like a bastard with a skull face. So now all the Templars are zombies, and they are just a horde running through these train tunnels, taking down anything that they come across. All right, so now Jenny and Tom, they're down in the train tunnels as well, and they have been separated. So Jenny is just like wandering around by herself in the dark, like calling out Tom's name.
Like a midget at a urinal, I was going to have to stay on my toes.
All right, and then we see one lone Crusader zombie, like shambling up behind her, real quiet, okay? And he is just about to get her. I think he even grabs her head or something like that. But then right then, Tom shows up, He like clubs it, knocks his head off or something like that. He saves her, okay? Just in time because a fucking train is coming down the tracks. And they have to jump to the side and like stand between the wall and the running train. And they can't, hear each other because it's so loud. But then Jenny's like looking at him like, yeah, you saved me. And then he's looking past her going like, look behind you. She turns around and there's other zombies like in between the wall and the train, like shambling towards him, being careful not to get hit by the train. So the train passes and they're like running through these tunnels. They're hitting zombies, and then like sometimes they're just hitting them and running away from them. And it was very reminiscent of the end of Day of the Dead, and they had to escape through the tunnels.
Yeah.
So then the mummy finally arrives in the Templar chamber, which is now full of Crusader zombies. And she walks in, and then they all just kneel to her. It was pretty cool. So then she walks over and finds that ruby, picks it up, sticks it into the handle of the knife, and now it's ready to go, ready for Tom. Ready for the chosen. And the camera pans up, it shows her face, and it's just like, Mama mean business. At this point, Tom and Jenny, they fall into a flooded chamber. Remember? Beginning they said there's some of the areas are flooded.
Yeah.
So they're down in the water. I think they fell in because they were fighting a zombie. But in the water, the zombie just like starts sinking down into the black. Tom and Jenny end up swimming up, and they find an air pocket. It's very small, only big enough for their heads. So they're out there and they're taking a breath, and Jenny's like, oh my God. And Tom's like, hey, listen, babe, it's going to be fine. Everything's going to be fine. And Jenny's like, yeah, okay, everything's going to be fine. Right then, the mummy actually comes up out of the water, like real quietly right behind Jenny. So Tom sees her, but Jenny doesn't. And he's like, oh, holy shit. And then the mummy just drags Jenny down under the water. And Tom's like, oh, shit. And he swims down after her, and he can see the mummy holding Jenny and swimming ahead. And she swims like a fucking dolphin or a mermaid. Yeah. Anyway, she's like too fast for Tom. But Tom, to his credit, he's like looking around. He can't find him anywhere. And he has to like swim up and take another breath and then go back down.
Yeah.
He's like swimming through all of these caves and catacombs, and he can't find her. And he's like alone in the dark. He swims past some more Crusader coffins. He looks down at them, and then they open up. The stone slabs, they're all like stone, okay?
Yeah.
So they like slide open, and then all of this like cloudy shit starts like coming up into the water, because it's like dusty bodies.
Yeah.
So now there's like 7 or 8 of these Crusader zombies that are swimming after Tom Cruise. And it's a pretty cool scene, man. Yeah. And like, it's kind of scary. So then Tom looks ahead and he sees Jenny, and she is underwater, but she's like floating still.
Oh, shit.
And he's like, oh shit. So he swims to her and he grabs her, and then he just swims up. So he's saving her, As soon as he gets up out of the water, he takes a breath. He's dragging Jenny to the shore, and then all of a sudden, he just gets grabbed by a whole bunch of zombies and dragged away from her. They drag him out, and they put his ass down on his knees. And they're holding him there. And he starts crying because right in front of him is Jenny, and she is dead.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, man. And it was pretty sad.
There is no comfort.
Then the mummy's there, and she's like, don't blame yourself. She was always doomed. And Tom is just crying for Jenny. And then she says, there are worse fates than death. And right then, she like gestures to all of the zombies that are all in the room, and there's like a big horde of them, and then they all just disintegrate into nothing. Mm-hmm. So now it's just her and Tom in the room, and she goes, come to me. So then he just runs at her. But he runs at her from like 15 feet away. And it was really obvious, so the mummy was absolutely ready and just punches him down. Then she's looking at him and sees that he's just like looking over at Jenny again, and then that pisses her off. So then she keeps punching him, and he's punching her, and they're throwing each other around, but she is obviously in control. Mm-hmm. She throws him around, and then he like picks up a sword, and he hits her in the leg with it. And you're like, oh, okay, he's going to do some damage, right? and it doesn't even faze her, and she just looks down at it and then looks at him, and he actually goes, "Oh, all right, sorry. And then she picks something up and just slams it down into his leg and like kind of breaks it or something. Anyway, it really fucking hurts. And he's like, "Oh!" So she keeps talking to him. She's got the dagger, and she's like, "Just give in. Just give in to me, my chosen. Come on. You know, I'm going to be your queen. You're going to be a living god." And he gets up in her face, and he's like, "I'm sorry, but we are just never going to happen. All right? And it's not me. It's you." And then she just hits him, and he flies away. Then she looks down at her hand, and there's nothing in it. Then she looks over at him, and he rolls over, and he's got the dagger. And she's like, "Thief!" And he's like smiling at her.
You're just a woman with a small brain. With a brain a third the size of us. It's science.
So then he holds up the dagger, and he slams the ruby down onto the ground, and it starts cracking. And she's like, "Whoa, whoa, 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 wait. All right. Wait. All right. Listen." Okay. Oh. "I'm telling you, you will be a living god, Tom. Okay, my chosen. All right, you will have power. You will have the power over life and death." And then right then, Tom, he's like, "Huh?" And he looks over at dead-ass Jenny. And he's like, "Oh." And you, the audience, are like, "Oh, yeah." And the mummy holds out her hand. She's like, "Give it to me, my chosen. Give it to me, my love. Come on." And then Tom just like raises the dagger up and stabs himself. And he's like, "Rah!" And he gets all these visions of the desert and all the shit like flying past him. And he like wakes up. And then the retinas in his eyes split into two. And it's like, oh shit. The mummy sees this happening, and she just starts like weeping with joy. She's like, "Finally." And he like stands up, and he's like, he's got the double retina eyes, okay? And he's like walking towards her. He approaches her. He walks up, and he says, "My chosen." In like a little bit of a different voice, maybe.
Yeah.
So he's standing there looking at the mummy, and he's got the double eyes, and he's kind of gonna join her now, right? And then he looks over at Jenny's body, and then his eyes return to normal for a second. And he gets a flashback of her saying, "Somewhere inside of you, there's a good man. I can see it. I just know it." And his eyes kind of double again. You know, there's some duality going on. They're fighting it. And his eyes go back to normal for a second, and he hears Dr. Jekyll saying, "The world needs a cure. You can be that cure. A sacrifice for the greater good." And then he reaches his hands up, and he just starts choking the mummy girl. And he just grabs her fucking head and slams it right into his face, and he just starts sucking her soul right out. And it's she shrivels away, and then he throws her down, and she's just like a little shriveled up little mummy again.
Respect the cock.
So yeah, she's dead.
All right.
And he did it. But now he's got the Egyptian god of death set inside of him. So he's like kind of stumbling around, you know, he maybe doesn't know quite how to deal with it. And he just kind of stumbles over to Jenny's body, and he's like stuttering, and he's like, Jenny. And he's holding her body, and he's like, I'm just wake up. And as he screams this into her face, his face vamps the fuck out, and he's got all these sharp teeth in his mouth and shit.
Yeah.
And it's all fucking creepy looking, but you only see it for a second. And then Jenny wakes up. Oh my God. Like she is brought back from the dead, motherfucker.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. And then she gets up, and she's in this catacombs, and she's looking around, and Tom is not there. She stands up, she's looking, and she sees Amanet's shriveled up body over there. And she's like, what the hell? And she picks up the dagger, which is now like burnt black. Okay. Once it got used, it's kind of like useless.
Uh-huh.
Then she hears a noise over in the corner, and she goes, Tom? She walks over. She's just about to get to him, and Tom just goes, stop. And he's in the shadows. And she stops, and she's like, what the hell's going on? And he's like, I don't know. I don't know what I am. Okay? I don't know. And so, like, he's obviously in the shadows, and he's, like, all vamped out and demonic looking somehow, but we don't get to see it.
Yeah.
And he's like, stay away from me. And she's like, you did this. You did this for me?
Yes!
I've made so many mistakes in my life, but not this time. They're coming. They're coming for me now. I can hear them. And he just says, I'll find you. I'll find you, Jenny. Goodbye. And then all the other Prodigium soldiers like bust into the chamber, and she turns around and looks at him and then turns back to see Tom, and all there is a cloud of dust. Jekyll walks up to Jenny, and she's like, you were wrong about him. He sacrificed himself. He sacrificed himself for me. And Jekyll just goes, yes, he's a monster now. He's got the evil inside of him too, so which side will win out? There's a human part of him that will always search for a cure to his curse. But evil never rests, and it will call to him always. And then we see, out in the middle of the desert, daytime, and there's two guys on horses. And they're like, their faces are like wrapped up, like Lawrence of Arabia.
Mm-hmm.
And then one of them unwraps his face, and it's Buddy. And he's like, hey, Tom, you know what? I am really glad that you brought me back to life, man. And I am very happy to be here. But, you know, maybe we shouldn't be out here. I just don't know what's going on here. And then Tom, whose face remains covered, so you only see his eyes, he just turns around and he's like, hey, come on, buddy. Where's your sense of adventure?
Nice.
Yeah. So they start riding away. And as they're riding through the desert, you see the dust trail coming off of Tom's horse.
Uh-huh.
And then it gets bigger and bigger, and there is a gigantic sandstorm following Tom, like wherever he goes in this desert. And then we hear Jenny, and she's like, I don't know where he is, but he could be our greatest ally. And Jekyll just says, yes, sometimes it does take a monster to fight a monster. Then we just see Buddy and Tom, and they're riding off into the desert with the sandstorm behind them, and then the credits roll, baby.
All right.
And that is Universal's The Mummy on Movies with Ron.
That was pretty good.
Yeah, I liked it a lot, man. Also, no stingers. This was a good, fun movie. I think it might be getting so much flack because everybody is expecting it to be like a faithful retelling of the original Mummy, like Boris Karloff's.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, but it's just not. It's a reboot, you know?
Yeah.
They made it an adventure film.
I'm pretty excited about Monster Tom Cruise with sharp teeth.
Yeah. Yeah, me too.
Next to, like, Mr. Hyde and shit.
Yeah.
I'm guessing a lot of the monsters we want them to add, they might be bad guys and stuff.
Yeah, maybe.
Like what I was saying about Dracula being the big monster.
Uh-huh.
The big bad guy.
Yeah.
But he'll probably, like, join them at some point.
I don't know. With the whole Frankenstein and Bride of Frankenstein, one of them will be on the good guys team, and the other one won't be.
Oh, you think there'll be, like, an equally badass bad guys team?
That'd be cool.
That would have the same star power?
Yeah.
Bruce Willis. Dracula.
Yeah. Yeah.
Welcome to the party, pal.
Oh, nice.
I want to suck your blood.
I want to suck your dick.
All right, folks, if you're on Apple Podcasts, leave us a rating and review. We'd love to hear from you. Check us out on Instagram and Twitter at Movies with Ron. We got a Facebook page. Check us out. All right, it's been fun.
All right, love you guys.
Movies with Ron.